Good evening. I'm welcome in everyone who may have been waiting in the weight room. If not, we'll give people a second to get in here. I want to ask how everybody's day went in their portfolio or normal day. Today I was green once again. I've been on a streak and I don't want to jinx it, but the portfolio's been making comeback for those who've been following my journey maybe since January. You would know kind of the situation I've been in all year. For those who don't know, who might be new, and this is a new series, so I figured it would be a good way to just kind of like let you guys know how my portfolio is doing for the year, and then we can jump in topics, jump into what I want this show to be about, essentially. And so this year, when the Iran war stuff happened, my portfolio was decently leveraged. It was mostly is mostly scheduled risk, but at the same time I'm young, so I hadn't experienced a real downturn in which I knew exactly how that would affect my portfolio. I could calculate it, but there was no way of knowing for sure until I've been through it. And that calculated risk, I mean, it panned out. Nothing happened, but my portfolio did go down. But I have conviction in everything I hold, so that was always part of my thesis is I don't care what percent or what numbers in my portfolio, and that might not be for all everyone, and nothing is this is financial advice, but to understand like my mindset, my thought process, I wanted to explain this. And so when my portfolio last year, for example, it was up 90%. I know that's not sustainable. People on X will make you think that's sustainable, but it's not sustainable most of the time, especially as a long-term investor. Your stocks are going to go up and down, up and down. And so when my portfolio was at those insane all-time highs, I told myself like, stay like, don't get excited. I have no plans on withdrawing this money. This money's gonna be in here for the next 5 to 10 years. Like, there's no reason to be happy because of what the digits say in it per se. And so when everything happened, the Iran war stuff and markets collapsed, I had some cash secured puts I was selling on margin. I told myself, I don't want to buy the tops. Like, I'm okay with getting exercise, but if something legit's gonna happen, I'd rather exercise them as far down as possible, and then let them get exercise, and then I'm buying at lower prices. The premium number did not matter to me because at the end of the day, the premium wasn't my losses. What was going to be my losses is, you know, ends is at 40, I get exercise at 35, it goes 20. Technically, I'm down that $15 range. Um, but it wasn't losses because I have a long term mindset. I don't care if I buy at 35. Buying at 35 was better than if I never rolled and I kept it at 48. What is up, Leaf? What is up? So, that being said, I'm just giving a little background of my portfolio situation right now, just for anyone who may not know. And I've been pretty transparent on X, but I feel like this is a good way to actually explain my thought process and the whole thing. And then later on, I'm actually going to go into where we're going with the YouTube channel, as well as I have three topics I want to talk about, um, and SoFi and Zeta. So there's three big things about all three of those names I that have been just going around X, and honestly, I'd been fighting with a bunch of people over the weekend, and I was like, you know what? It's a good time to start, this series now because I want people to hear my thoughts, and it's way easier than, tweeting something and then someone changes the subject, they twist it a little bit to make them seem like they're right again, and then I feel like I have to respond to that again. So, it's way easier if, someone wants to fight me on something. I mean, I made it clear what the topics were about in the thumbnail. They can come in here, join, and I'm willing to debate. I would honestly love to have some of these people on stream, but OBS doesn't let me do that yet. So I have to wait till I get StreamYard, which I'll do here soon. But so anyways, going back to the portfolio thing. Um, come the Iran war, I had leverage down. Portfolio went down about 50-ish%. It didn't really affect me. Kind of like I said, I always had a long-term mindset. When I was up 90%, I didn't care. Going the other way, it doesn't affect me. But long story short, I've cut a lot of that back I'm now only 20% down year to date, and that is with SoFi still being in the teens. Um, Zeta and Hems has ran a little bit since the bottom, but my covered calls are what's weighing my value down. If I didn't have those covered calls, I would be green. So those are also things I'm not worried about. Um, and I had, you guys might know Long Game Equity, and he commented on my Zeta call option chain thing. And he's like, you're running covered calls on Zeta and or the wheel. And I just told him straight up, like, I run the wheel on everything. And my reasoning behind this is with growth companies, it's, you're very unlikely, very, very unlikely to get those shares called away from you because there's no incentive to do so. All you do is lose time value and you don't get paid a dividend. So there's almost no reason for anyone to exercise it no matter how high it goes up. Yes, long game equity's my dog. And so yeah, I was just explaining that, and I'm young, as you guys can see, and so I have no concern about going underwater because in my head, as long as I can roll it up years and years and years, I don't need that chunk of cash instantly. The only chunk of cash I really care to get instantly is my premiums. And the premiums just help me, pay like bills or I'll reinvest them. Stuff like my car, for you guys know, my car died, so I'm about to have a small car payment. It will let me pay that off without actually having to sell any positions, and that's what really matters to me is I don't want to sell my positions. I'm young. They're positions I plan on taking till, I'm 40, and if a market collapse happens like we had in February, if those covered calls are underwater, my account's not gonna even feel it because they're underwater. So like, and then honestly, those can act as great ways to then be able to roll up again. So I don't worry about going underwater simply because I'm not a 6-year-old man who has to think about pulling anything out for retirement, pulling out for a fun toy. If I want a toy, you know what? I can find a way to increase my salary. And that's just my opinion on that. So now that you guys kind of understand like my thought process and my holdings, I want to talk a little bit about this channel. So Mondays from now on, they are going to be what I already even forget the name of what I decided to call this. They are going to be called the growth tape. And that is mainly because I have a full-on growth portfolio. And so I caught it suiting. ChatGPT helped me with the name. I'm not very creative, so I resort to ChatGPT when I need something creative. And which is weird because I'm an advertising student. But anyways, it's gonna be called the growth tape every Monday. The subjects are going to be my three holdings: SoFi, Zeta, Hems. I'm going to try and give all of them talking time every time I do this, and I figured it would get my followers on X happily involved because a lot of them do follow me. But as I add in new positions, so like let's say I re-enter Iran, then like I'll throw them into this episode. So it's gonna be about my portfolio, but I keep a very concentrated portfolio. So for now, it is these three tickers. But as my portfolio grows, like Amazon's something I've wanted to hold forever, and everyone's always like, just buy it, just buy it. But I've told myself until my portfolio hits a value of 50K, I don't want a Mag 7. And maybe that's to some people that's me being maybe too aggressive, but when I started investing, I promised myself I was doing it because I wanted to change the trajectory of my life. I didn't come from a rich family. I was pretty broke growing up, actually. I was blessed by a family member who does very well for himself. He took me in. I lived with him for 3 years, and so he kind of told me, save up every penny, and just he told me at the time, he was like, save up for a car. And he knew this whole time he wasn't actually going to have me buy a car, but he told me, save up for a car. And he's like, that's step one. And so I just started saving, investing. My cousin got me into investing, so I was just investing in stuff that I wasn't really familiar with, but companies that I was like I knew. Like I invested in Ford back in the day because they had just launched the electric F-150, and Tesla was big with their electric cars. I'm like, this is gonna do well. I got lucky. I bought it at 12. It went to 20. I was like, holy crap! I just made 800 bucks because I didn't have much money, and then I sold, and then it just happened to crash. So like a lot of it had to do with luck and how I got into investing, but I'm very grateful it happened. Um, and so yeah, anyways, when I got into it, I told myself I'm going to invest to change my trajectory and not just to finally enjoy my life when I was 60. Because for the first time, I got to enjoy my life in that time period, and I knew that was what I wanted. And so it really started. I full ported SoFi. Every paycheck, everything I made, it went in SoFi, and a big reason was I when I moved to Florida, I could no longer use my like local bank, my regional bank. And so I looked for a solution, and I'm thinking like all these college students, like once I start using it, I'm like this is great service. But then I'm like all these college students who leave their hometown to go to college, like how do they access their bank if it's a regional bank? And my first conclusion is like why wouldn't you get an online bank? Like because now when I go home or I'm in Florida, and then whatever college I transfer there, because I went there knowing I was going to transfer to a new college, like I don't have to keep worrying about moving my bank around and knowing what bank's going to be on campus, this, that, and the other. And so that's when I was starting to learn about market caps, and so I was like, this bank's small. Like I thought it was big because I was used to seeing like SoFi Stadium, and I was a big football fan. I thought they were a big company, and so started investing in it. Then I came across SoFi Weekly, and then that's when I actually started learning like how you actually value a company. Um, I actually started learning about like how accounting and finances worked, like when you're looking at a business. And so that's what really got me investing. Like that's when I was like finding out about X because I looked them up on X because they talked about it. And so that's how that whole thing changed. But anyways, I got a little derailed. I wanted to say we will be doing this show every Monday, unless if I have something. So like Labor Day weekend, I think I'm busy. Um, Next weekend, up in the air. My birthday's on Monday, so this show would be on my birthday. So I don't know if I'm gonna make it, but I'll keep you guys in the loop, and maybe I can move it around since these next shows I'm about to mention aren't quite scheduled yet. But going forward, not starting next week, but Sundays, we're going to be doing TA Sundays. I thought it was perfect timing. We're going to do it at night going into the market week. And we're going to do TA Sundays, but not me. You guys know I'm not a TA expert. Like I know a few things, but it's not me. We have a guest. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Knotsbull. He's on X. I'll pull up his Twitter actually right now for you guys, in case you guys don't know. But he is pretty well known. He's really not well known in space for his TA analysis, and he actually does this full time. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if that's clear for you guys. It might not be. I guess let me know. But Knotsbull, he has 123,000 followers. He's been doing this for a bit. He's very knowledgeable on the topic, so I'm actually very excited that he wanted to be a part of this. I reached out to him and I was like, you were one of the first people to support me as a creator. When I was a smaller account, he followed me and he actually reached out to me. Um, and that was really cool to me because I was new to the space, and the fact that he caught my content knowledgeable and you know, worthy of even a shout out at one point. Like that was respect to me, and so I wanted to reach out and I wanted him to be a part of it, and he told me he was down. So I'm excited for you guys to get to see him break down some charts going forward every Sunday before the market open week. He'll be on the channel, and we're gonna do a TA Sunday, and then on Thursdays, I believe it's gonna be Thursdays. Me and Joseph Invest, which I'll show his channel too. And just let me know if you guys are having problems seeing the screen. I might be able to zoom in somehow. But he I more recently met, and he was like, and honestly, a big reason I pushed into this YouTube stuff because I was low-key taking my time at first, and he was like, "Yo, would you want to do like a show just talking about things that happened in the market that week?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm down." I was like, "How about Thursdays? Those seems to be the busiest day until the week kind of starts to wrap up and less news starts to happen. So it's a good like review of how the week's been going." And so Joseph Invest, for you guys who don't know him, he's right here. He also has a cool site. It's called Fort Gamma. You can click on it, and it kind of helps you analyze and break down companies. Uh, just like you put in your own projections, your own CAGR, you think they're gonna grow revenue, EPS at. Um, it'll also do it based off what analysts are saying, and you go off that, and then it gives you price projections based on what type of company it is. It's pretty cool. So if you guys want to check that out, check it out. And then on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, because I plan on not doing anything on Saturdays, Fridays and Saturdays. That I plan on making that like my weekend. But Tuesdays and Thursdays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I haven't figured out necessarily what I'm doing. I want one show to be where I bring on random X creators. So if there's any X creators in here, hit my DMs if you see this. I want one of them to be I hit up random X creators, have them on, give you guys a chance to hear their opinion, and just their thesis behind their holdings. I think, like I said, I started off this video talking about, kind of my mindset with my holdings a little bit. I want you to be able to hear other people voice their reasoning and their opinions and why they do certain things. I feel like X, you can only get that message across so much because you see one post and then you don't see the next. There's just so much on the thread. And so it gives you a good chance for everybody to reason the way they're thinking and why they're in the companies they are, why their strategy is the way it is, and just have some dialogue. And if something big happens that day, we have them on. We can also talk about that topic a bit. And then another one, I thought about doing like a stock tank, have someone on, pitch a stock, and do that once a week. Maybe it has to happen a little less because we might run out of tickers at that point. But we can be creative with the other day. I'm not necessarily picky. So, yeah. But that being said, go ahead if you guys have any questions for me. Put them in the chat. I'd love to answer them, whether it's about anything I just said or something I'm about to say, involving my three tickers. Put them in the chat, and I'll get to them at the end of the video. So yeah, let's get into this. I wanted to start off with the HIMS pricing debate. I touched on this over the weekend, as many of you guys know. I made a few graphics, I put a few posts together, and it all stemmed from some disagreements in the comment sections on other posts. And so I wanted to be clear on one thing. And when you look at the pricing compared to HIMS or Row or any other telehealth platform that delivers 24/7, that's important, 24/7 access and care, you are paying that $39 a month for the first month, and you are paying $149 a month every month after that. Okay. And if somebody wants to correct me, put it in the comments. I'll look it up right now. But we're talking about 24/7 access care, $39 the first month, $149 a month after that. The only exception is when you do a full year prepayment. So you upfront, you pay for a full year. But then at that point, you are assuming that person has whatever the slightly discounted rate is times 12, and they're able to pay that upfront. So my point is, people want to argue affordability with Him's pricing, but for people who can't afford to pay that upfront payment, which is a decent amount of people, they're just going paying month by month, and then and it doesn't matter if they go through Hims, it doesn't matter if they go through Route, because you're going to pay $39 first month, $149 after that. On top of this, Hims or Hims House recently posted that Hims is working on bringing back their subscription package where you can buy 3 months at a time or you can buy a year at a time. So they're bringing their special pricing back. So yeah, you can argue that's a row perk now, but it's not going to stay that way. And I still would argue majority of Hims subscribers, like most people are gonna have an understanding of what they signed up for. Like you can go to Trustpilot, but go to Trustpilot and look at Robinhood ratings. They're like a 3-star. I'll pull it up right now. It's not that good. Are you gonna tell me Robinhood's growth is fake because Trustpilot said they're bad, and probably most of the complaints are about because I had a complaint. I if I really wanted to use Trustpilot, which I just don't care because I think everybody just leaves ratings when they're mad, I would have gone there when I set up my credit card and they told me I couldn't set up auto payments and I missed my first payment in my life. And it was not because I didn't have the funds. It was simply because they wouldn't let me set up auto payment and I forgot about the payment. So that right there could have been a 1-star. Does that mean Robinhood's not gonna grow? Like the argument to me is just dumb. Okay, it's a 3.8 star, but I thought I remember being 3.2. But either way, 3.8 star, but look at the 1-stars. There's more 1-stars than there are 5-stars. If I look up Hims, it's not pretty. I already know that. 2.9. Honestly, I thought I remembered being worse. At least Hims has more 5-stars than 1-stars, and all the complaints on Hims, you wanna know what they are? It's about delivery being late, and which is gonna happen, especially when you're talking about a small company who doesn't have the most warehouses. Amazon used to get those complaints too. And now look at Amazon. And then it's pricing. Well, I'm sorry, but how dumb do you have to be to not look at pricing before you put your credit card in? That's my opinion. And then if that's how big the educational gap is, I don't know if that's the customer you want. Because they clearly put $39 first month in ads and then $149. But then, okay, I won't speak on this because I haven't gone through and paid, but I catch it hard to believe that they don't. Honestly, let me try and pull it up right now. Let me see if I can act like I'm about to pay. I'm curious now. Hims.com. Start your weight loss today. I want to try and skip the questionnaire if I can. Wegovy's an FDA approved. Get started. I don't want to do the questionnaire. Just bring me to pricing. I know I can. I've done it before. Hims.com. Let me click weight loss treatments. View details. Unpacking snack. Okay. Let me see what happens when I take I'm curious now. I'm gonna take the survey. Not putting in any credit card information. Pills. Wegovy pill. Michigan. Here we go. I can continue. Sure. You guys already have my email. You guys. Continue. 58165. We'll say 150. Continue. I don't know. Why do they need my ethnicity? Okay. Yes. Is your current weight? No. 170. Man, they do ask a lot of questions. I'm not gonna lie about that. I mean, I probably wouldn't care though if I actually was interested. It's just more like I would rather see the price. What steps did you take to lose weight to achieve your current? Man, these are a lot of questions. But low key, they're all questions that should be asked. They're like about the warning. So like, have I experienced vomiting? This, that, and the other. So it's to prepare you, my guess, for the video stuff they're gonna do, like the actual visit with the pharmacist. No, I don't even know if they are going to show me the price. So after this, have you had a family ever been? No. 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 I've never. Do you hear anything? No. No. There should be a no to all, Brian. I will agree with this. There should be a like once a month. No. Are you currently? No. I don't know. I'll say no. No. Okay, let's see what it says. I finished. I will say, if they do make you talk to a provider first, I will disagree. I will actually agree with Bears on that. Now, is it thesis breaking? No. But you're eligible. Lose 32 pounds. A licensed provider will review your health profile to see. Continue. So here are some GLP-1 providers may recommend. Okay. Next. Track your progress with a scale that does it for you. Next. Okay. I will agree with this. I don't like that it makes you put in all your information. I will agree with Bears on that. I do not like that. Now, I will say, if you were really interested, you can go to ChatGPT and ask. Some people wouldn't do that. I'm gonna go back to the hymns.com, and I want to see. No, I want to see if anywhere it tells you how much it is. Weight loss treatments, membership to science, Wegovy pill. Nope, nope, nope. Okay, I will agree with this. Pricing should be broken out. If I go to Row, what is Row's ranking actually? I'm curious. Row Trustpilot. So Row's review is a 3.9 star. 3.9. If I go to Row and I go to their website, GLP-1s. If I click on GLP-1 pill, okay, just go straight into the questionnaire too, with no pricing. And they advertise on their thing also $39 a month. So it's really just an industry thing. And I will say, it's one of those things where I would also argue if your competitors are doing it, you feel like you have to do it too, because what it does is it gets them on the page. It gets them on the page, you get them to answer the questions, and you get them right to the purchase. You get them right at the cashier. Um, and so if your customers are doing that and cutting corners, you also feel the need to cut corners because let's say you don't do that and you're transparent, and then everyone's like, oh, Hims is 2 times as much as Row. I'm gonna go to Row, and then they go to Row and then they find out, oh, it's the same price. But guess what? They are already at Row and it's the same price, so they might as well just go with Row. So it's something that the industry has to change. But there's there's also no possible way Hims can just be like, I'm gonna be transparent, so everybody's like thinks we're two times more expensive. Like I said, they go to Row, they're gonna end up just buying from Row, even though it ended up not being 2 times as much, because they don't see a difference in who they go with, because they both are doing the 24/7 access care. It's the same perks. The only difference is the member benefits that Hims has, and is that enough to really make someone want to be like, oh yeah, like, yeah, now I'm just gonna go back to Hims. It's a questionnaire I just filled out and do their thing. So I get the argument, and you guys are seeing me reason this and how I reason right here. I get the argument, but it's an industry issue. It's not something Hims can solve alone. It's something that, the FDA has to come out and say, hey, you guys can't be doing this anymore. Like, we're gonna like hit you with a strike if we see you guys advertising this, kind of like they did with Hims when they would say that Wegovy was the active, or semaglutide was the active ingredient in Wegovy. The FDA didn't like it. They gave them a warning. Same thing kind of here would have to happen. You can't just expect one to stop because the other is gonna take advantage of that. So I wanted to get that off my chest. And then the other thing was they were talking about, the other conversation was, you can go to places like CVS or Amazon One Medical. That's another one. They're ranked like 37th in the medical store, just to start off. And I saw their first ad actually when I was watching YouTube yesterday. For the first time, I saw one of their ads. I was like, oh, like, have I always just missed it, or like, are they actually gonna start pushing this? Like, it actually rose some curiosity in me. But um, they do. You pay about $39, I believe. I'm gonna look up how much one medical membership is. One medical membership pricing. You pay about $30 to $40. I know that much. It's working out the price right now. You pay Amazon One Medical. So it's $99 a year, or it says $9 a month. No. Okay, no, so that's what it is. Video care, $49. Direct message care is $29. Let me specify for weight loss. For weight loss. I want to just make sure it's not just for any virtual care. Okay, so it is $39. But what you do is you get it's $39 and you get care for 2 weeks. If you need a dosage change after that 2 weeks, then you have to pay $39 again. And so they don't actually track your progress. And it's not 24/7 care. If you have a question one night, you have to re-sign up and you have to, wait. I'm also going to look up, can I get care at any time of day once I pay? So yes, once you pay, you get care at any time of day. But to be clear, 14 days, and then it's over. And then, once you have an issue again, then you're gonna pay that $39 again, get care, and that's all. That's cool. But the whole point of hymns is to track your progress and be able to help you the moment you need help. So the moment you have a question about your dosage or you're feeling a symptom, you go to AI, the AI thing, tell them the symptom you're feeling. It gets sent to a provider that gets looped in, and they come in and respond. And in the future, what they're doing is they're building in the AI to be able to flag your progress. So that's partially what the scale is about. Is the scale can track how your progress is doing and see if you need like a dosage upping, maybe before you would have even realized. And then it also, you know, based off conversations you have, you tell it, I'm feeling this symptom, and it can flag that, and it gets back to the provider, and maybe sooner than you would have, came to this decision of, you know, you need to change your dosage level. And so by being able to be proactive and quick with it, it makes it less likely for a customer to want to cancel than if you get through Amazon. You start feeling some on and off symptoms, but you just figure it's part of the regimen. Like my aunt, for example, she actually was taking a GLP-1 for a second. She said that she took it, she felt so insanely sick that she never wants to touch it again. But if she had a provider who could have flagged it the first time she took it, and she could, tell how she felt right then and there, they could have done the dosage change instantly, got her dosage right based off what information she fed them, and then she could have became a customer for life because she genuinely is also on the treatment because she wants to lose weight. So these are the things Hims is attacking, and 24/7 access gives them the ability to do. When you don't have that 24/7 access, there's delay, and in that delay creeps in doubt from the customer, and they're more likely to cancel when it's not working for them than if you instantly jump in and you say, hey, so you say this is the issue, we think this would work better for you, let's ship this out to you, and then you get it, you end up enjoying the experience, and then you want to stay with it. It's kind of like when you're selling a car, and you hear about an issue about a car, and that person gets to sit on it. But instead, if you would have had that car salesperson who was right then and there, who knew about your concern instantly, they could have countered that, and all of a sudden that person's more likely to be like, oh, you know what, maybe that's not a big deal. But the more they let it fester in their mind, the bigger of an issue they build it up to become, and then they no longer that like there's little you can say. Like they already built the idea up too big, and they don't trust what you say. They already did too much, you know, research or this, that, and the other. And same thing with GLP-1s is like you say, well, maybe it's good that they did research and you know they figured about the problems. But like I said with these reviews, most people only write when they have a complaint. Very few people go and say, you know what, I want to go to Trustpilot and talk about how good my GLP-1 is because I really care about sharing this online. Very few people think that way. Most people only want their voice heard when they really have a complaint that they want heard. And so that is another reason I don't put much weight on Trustpilot. Although I will agree, I don't like that it's a whole, like I said, it's a whole telehealth problem. But I don't like that they don't break it down more clear. But I broke down the exact reason why they can't. And so that being said, I want to change topics as long as we don't have any questions on my thought process with the hymns thing. So the next topic I want to talk about was SoFi. And I want to talk about if you guys think that SoFi is finally detaching from the macro. And I actually put out a post about this after earnings that my prediction was SoFi is going to finally detach from the macro and it can finally make a move up. By move up, I'm not talking about it's going to run necessarily, but I think it can get back into the 20s. And my reasoning is simply because the market only cares, it seems, about PE. It'll crunch the PE, like with SoFi. I feel like it's always trading off of PE. When the macro's bad, that premium, it contracts and trades in like this 20, 30 PE. But then when the macro's good, it'll probably get back close to like 50 PE. But I think it is finally getting excited because it sees the roadmap to the company's guide that they always hit. And they said they would have done 65 cents of PE. They're keeping the bar at 60 cents because of RSUs bringing that EPS number down. And you can see that it's like 17 cents that they have to do here in Q3, and then 19 cents follow to hit their guide. And the market's getting excited about that margin expansion and that EPS expansion as they lean back on the heavy reinvestments. And so that was the way I theorized it in my head when I was like, I think we can finally rate higher. The market's going to start seeing the EPS growth ahead. And then as you get past Q4, well, now you're nearing a year of SoFi plus, or crypto being out, a year of crypto being out. And then it'll be 9 months of SoFi Plus being out. And then it'll be 9 months with big business banking about. I can't remember the exact timeline on that, but it should be about 9 months. So some of these new products that you launched this year that took up a lot of heavy investing, they're going to finally have been out for quite a few months, come that Q1. And we could start seeing those contribute. And then you're going to definitely see it throughout that year. So when we look, and analysts have SoFi, last I checked, at about 80 some cents of EPS next year. I think that is terribly wrong. I think they could hit their EPS guide that they have for 2028. I think that might hit next year. And maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe they have more investments that are coming up that they have not told us about. But as of now, next year they're projecting 83 cents. But if you do 20 cents or 19 cents come Q4, I'm not going to just sit back and expect you guys not to grow EPS all of 2027. So I think the market's starting to see this, and I think the stock may re-rate a little bit and head to $20. And so I'm excited. Today was looking very green, and then it faded like it normally does. But the stock's been looking different lately. I mean, if you just look at the chart, you can just tell it's forming that what they call a bull flag. What it looks like to me, I just I don't know if every bull flag forms like this, but it just reminds me of like a mini cup and handle. It just wants to whoop up, and I just call it the whoop. It whoops. But you had three tests at the bottom. You have one, two, three tests at the top, and something I learned from oh, what's his name? The guy that does TA on Amit's stream. He talks about the fourth test is normally the breakout. He was right on that with Zeta. I followed that. I believed I positioned myself for it. And it could happen here. Like I said, you had one, two, three, and you're going again. And it's right where that 200 day is. I think, you know, brighter days for SoFi are ahead. So I'm getting excited, and they have a lot of good things coming up. They're they're gonna start accelerating the loan business platform again. They're bringing the loan revenue down to 50%. I'm a fan of it. I've been saying that I think that's another tailwind. Is I've been saying I don't think the stock will stop acting as a bank until lending is no longer 50% of the business. Well, they're finally bringing it down from 60% to 50%. So that's a step to exactly what I had been talking about. The cross buy is working, which low customer acquisition costs right there. That encourages people also to get SoFi Plus, and SoFi Plus is using cross sell, so or cross buy, and so everything's ticking. And I also want to talk about. I heard Chris Patel on Amit's stream talking about SoFi doesn't deserve a premium because there's no disruption. And then, you look at banks like New Bank and like Brazil, and they're disrupting because there's not many banks. And although that technically is true, I don't believe a company can grow at 40% if you're not disrupting. If you are not different than your competitors, no one would adopt you at that rate, at that clip. Marketing can only do so much, and only so many people are going to want to transition from their current institutions. What they are disrupting is a corrupt traditional banking system that has been in place my whole life. And young people simply do not want to put up with it. It's similar. If, for example, I would actually be curious to hear his thought on this. Does he believe? I'm sure we got some Lemonade fans in here. Does he believe Lemonade is not a disruptor because there are so many car insurance companies? What are they doing that's special? Their underwriting's just better. Oh, well, guess what? SoFi's underwriting is just better. That's a fact. And you can say the consumer experience is better. Well, you know what? Consumer experience is better from SoFi. I can get my loan from the seat of my house. I can get my mortgage for my home. I can, ask SoFi Coach to analyze my, my loans and my net worth and my subscriptions and ask it to give me a suggestion on what I should be doing next. What platform can I do that on? I don't use Robinhood banking. I know they were working on some AI stuff there, but I don't even believe Robinhood allows that right now. I don't know a single company who offers that. That is disruption. Another one. There are very few banks. I don't know. Maybe you guys can name me some, but there are very few banks where I can invest, get a high yield savings, um, get financial advice help, um, subscription management, cancel any subscriptions I have all from one place. Uh, you know, I need some help from the chat, but there's very few places I can think I can do that. I know my regional bank did not have any brokerage access. So if we're he was talking about all 4,000 banks. So if we're gonna talk about all 4,000 banks, well, you know what? Most regional banks does not let me put a brokerage in there. That's disruption against regional banks. Um, I don't know. JPM probably has a brokerage. I don't know what it's called. Um, so yeah, I think to say SoFi is not disrupting is Chris Patel just trying to have another hot take. And I actually like Chris Patel. I think he's really smart. But even Tanner would admit, he said it on stream, sometimes he just wants to have the hot take. And he feels that way about Micron. He probably feels the same way about SoFi now because this happened today. But I know he felt the same about Micron and how he switched up and all of a sudden he was bullish on Micron. I wouldn't be surprised if macro starts to clear up and all of a sudden you see SoFi running and then all of a sudden like, yeah, this was due for SoFi. Like, yeah, like I've heard him switch up his stake like that. So I just wanted to say that. My last thing I wanted to touch on is I was watching Stephen Fioro's midday stream today, and he was talking about having a ceiling on Zeta. He said that in the next, uh, I don't want to get it wrong, it was either 1 to 3 years or 3 to 5 years, but he believes, I'm pretty sure he said 3 to 5, that Zeta is like 30 billion market cap. That's kind of what he put on it. Me personally, I believe the company today should be like a 20 billion market cap. You'll get how other SaaS players, get rated price to sales. You're talking about 6x kind of being middle. You got App 11. It's like a 15x price to sales right now after the sell off. I'll check for you, everybody, right now here on stream. If I go to App 11 and we go to valuation, which should be in statistics, I believe. Price to sales, 15.5. If I just give Zeta a modest 6 price to sales, 6 times 7, because it's 7 billion, just over 7 billion, you got a 42 billion market cap. I'm not even calling for that. I simply am putting like a 4, yeah, four price to sales on it, and that would make it a 28 billion market cap. And so my thing is, and I said I think it's a 100 billion market cap company in the next 5-10 years. That's me just putting a base on it. That's not like my actual, like, if I think like what I think it can reach in 5-10 years, I think it can reach higher. But that's my base on it. And that is because people look at the company for what David says. And so when they say they're gonna do, honestly, I think I did the price sales calculation wrong. I did. You're supposed to, so I did do the price sales wrong. I calculated wrong. I was multiplying the market cap, but no. So the revenue is like 1.7 billion. So times that by 6, and hold on, calculator. It's like 1.7 times 6. So it should be like a 10 billion market cap. And that is why my price target is like $40. But honestly, I think it should be at a premium because, and I have a post back in March saying my price target was $40. And I have a post in anyways, I blanked for a second. But I think it deserves a premium because when I put that price target, it was before OpenAI, it was before ChatGPT, and those things aren't priced in the guide. Nonetheless, I think those are going to be major components, and I think that future growth should be used with the multiple. And naturally, they say 6 price of sales for a company growing at about 30%, and that's the organic growth. And so that's kind of why I chose 6 price of sales. But with those next 2 levers, doing GEO, hosting ads on OpenAI, and then doing business intelligence with Palantir and how Foundry can even speed up the marketing side, I think this company can get to a point where it's growing 40%. Like, I do believe that. And I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, I still like the floor, but I think it can get to 40% growth. And so I also wanted to say, so when you take the fact that David wants to get to 10 billion on the marketing side, that's a 60 billion market cap. Already surpasses what doubles what Steven's saying, although he said 3 to 5 years. If I end up being wrong, you guys can correct me in the comments later, but I'm sticking with 3 to 5 years. I'm pretty sure he said 3 to 5 years. So 60 billion market cap if they get to 10 billion in revenue. I believe business intelligence can be just as big as marketing. I think, having access to, I think being able to personalize target, but also being able to know when to advertise the product because you don't, depending on what the inventory is, or maybe when you need to drop a product because it's unprofitable and you can see that it's not what the consumers want. I think you being able to test products and then know if it's something that's worth launching. I think pretty much every business intelligence use case that David has given us so far is worth just as much as knowing who to target. So I do think it can get just as big. If not, let's say half the size. Let's say business intelligence does 5 billion. And so now you're at 15 billion. What's 15 billion times 6? I don't know. But at that point, you are over 100 billion market. 15 times 6. Okay, no, you're at 90. So now you're at 90 billion market. This is assuming growth rates stay above 20. The industry, marketing industry, grows at 20%. I'll double check, but David has used this statistic many times. How fast does the U.S. marketing industry grow year over year? And on top of this all, this is just the United States I'm mapping out right now. So as this answers me, the U.S. marketing industry. Okay, so it's 10%. That's the number. So 10%. Okay, so you'll be growing as fast as Salesforce at maturity. I was assuming. But then, so on top of all this, I believe before business intelligence launched, I already looked at Zeta as a business intelligence company, but then it officially got announced, and then people were like, "Oh my gosh, there's this whole new TAM!" Like, and they lost their crap, and all of a sudden, like we got to re-rate it higher. Well, I think this is just a start. I think there's a future where Athena and Zeta, we are discussing agentic marketing and agentic business intelligence, and that is essentially where Athena can take action for you. You'll of course need people will need to watch over it, but you're going to get a point where it can execute decisions for you based off data. It's literally I give this a prompt, I give ChatGPT a prompt, it just does it. It's essentially the same thing. You tell Athena, hey, you know, they use this example all the time. Hey, where should I pop up these new hotels for my company? Like where my brand loyalty customers would want them, but we're not there yet. And then Athena tells you here. Be like, all right, can you officially execute the game plan to get those launched? This and the other. Like hit up whatever teams you need. This and the other, and it just executes it, does it all for you. And then next thing you know, you're in a meeting room and it's getting done. And then I can even imagine it being more fluent than that in the future. And I've talked about Zeta being the autonomous backend for your business. And I think that is a real scenario that Zeta can operate in. And if you get to that point, you can't tell me that is not worth much more than a 30 billion market cap. That is a multi-hundred billion market cap right there. To be able to make decisions for you, execute those decisions for you, all at your voice prompt, absolutely ridiculous to think about. It's already very incredible and um, how thoroughly it can respond and bring back data to you for you to execute. But once it can do that execution for you, it will be on a whole new level. And so I am very excited to see where Zeta goes, and that's just something I wanted to say because I want to know what other people think about it. I think that we put the ceiling on top of Zeta all the time, or just people, not all the time, but it seems like people are very conservative on where they price out Zeta to be, and I don't understand why. And so I wanted to voice my opinion, my thoughts, so that people could speak on how they feel, I guess, and maybe they think I'm overshooting, and that's okay. They probably thought I was overshooting when I had the ZBI idea, or I wasn't like the first necessarily to point it out, but I always knew, and I had stated it when um, David said that their goal was 10 billion in revenue. Like, I was texting my boys. I even think I made a post on it. I was like, dude, this company's amazing. But I see no way, and I don't know why David keeps saying it, that their goal is 10 billion in ARR. Like, they can do way more, and they will do way more. And the next thing you know, they announce some business intelligence, and their business possibly, once they actually finally give us a guide, may have doubled just off that new offering alone. And I think there's more to come that people don't see. And then all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this business is going to be way bigger than what I had mapped out. And so yeah, those are my thoughts on that. That said, we've been live for an hour now. I want to wrap this up. It was great being on here and being able to just speak my mind. Hopefully next time we're gonna have this, last second. I posted about this like an hour before I did it, so make it last, not so much last second, and we'll get more people in here. Thank you for anyone who did come here and listen to me ramble for a little bit. I enjoyed it, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.